Good evening, hello, good evening again. Back with you for another broadcast from the quarantine, from the lockdown. And today is the day after yesterday. If this was yesterday, today would be tomorrow. Of course, it's today. It's the 20th of April. And I was listening back to some of these things last night and checking my desktop, and I realized I've been doing little vlogs like this since pretty much the beginning of the year. Probably have some from January, and certainly plenty from February, March, and this month. I'm documenting the whole year, kind of. And so today is it's a Monday. It's a Monday, it's the 20th. Next Monday will be the 27th, and next Thursday will be the 30th, which will be the last day of April. Then we'll be into May. And I have it's that bizarre sense of, and this is not so much, I wouldn't describe it as irritation, it's more worry. Because Flo was telling me about the Ozana, the dog came along and he broke the fence, the little gate. So Flo went over to speak to them. And then the woman that lives over there came over to speak to Flo, and the woman was saying, the dog has to be allowed to go free, it's the countryside, what can we do? And Flo was talking about the kind of responsibility she should have of walking the dog, and what are we going to do about the broken fence, because the dog is just going to keep breaking it. And I guess it's conflict causes that kind of tightness in the chest for me, even if it's just two adults talking about things. I don't like conflict. I don't like the idea of the husband coming over and being pissed off at having to fix a gate. And then after that we were talking about, I was telling her, because I was talking to my mother on the phone for 45 minutes, and I was saying to Flo that my brother John is only paying half his rent. They've come to some agreement, and Flo was saying, well, maybe I should... Oh God, it's so mucky here when you go to pass this part of the... Fuck. Well, fuck it, I'm going to have to take these, this doesn't matter. Yeah, so Flo suggested calling the landlord or sending him an email and saying maybe we should just pay the landlord half the rent. And although I know it's perfectly legitimate to do that, why not? But somehow it just doesn't seem right, I don't know. I have a very kind of childish sense or something on these kind of things. And so it's, since this morning, it's made me feel a little uneasy. Do you want to go over here too? Go! Is it very mucky? Is it okay? Go on to the rabbits. Now, as usual, I could say, well, how do you know you weren't going to be in this mood anyway? Whether or not Flo said anything to you. It's possible that this is just the mood you're in today, nothing to do with the external stuff. In fact, you could probably easily blame this mood on your teeth without anything else needed, because my teeth are a little achy today, like I was just saying, and that tooth that was all done, it sometimes feels a little odd. That's kind of all I can say. I feel it. And I would have thought after 3 months I shouldn't feel anything anymore. It should be just, everything should be completely back to normal, you know. Anyway, I can't do anything about these things, you know. Will I lap at Tuco? Where are the rabbits? Is any out? Can you smell anything? I can't do anything about these things, you know. I'm not going to make any appointment to see the dentist. I'm going to wait. I mean, the time is going so fast. I'm not going to feel it till it's like June or July, and then I can have a proper x-ray taken. And hopefully it'll be okay, because the thoughts of having to have anything more down there is not something I want to contemplate. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm not going to contemplate. I'm not going to think about it. So yeah, I've got that mood today. The weather is very, very mucky. It has been raining the last 2 days, and so everything's very damp. Hello, Tuco. Good for Tuco, because he comes out for me for his afternoon walk, which he's not too keen on doing if it's too hot. But this type of weather he loves. Yeah, talking to my mother, she seems in good form, as does everybody at home. Hello, Tuco. That's good to hear. Time passes on. Time passes on. There's a way of looking at the problems about fences and the problems about teeth. It can really help to put things in a different context, to put things in their place. If you take a leaf out of the Stoic manual, or you, I don't know, you just think upon how fast things go, and really the ultimate thing, the only thing, I guess, that deserves your proper worry is your mortality. That's kind of it. All the other stuff is just small stuff, doesn't really matter. The fence, the teeth, doesn't really matter. They just come and go. Anything of any importance is that big picture. It's getting some major problem wrong with you. And you're fine. So far, so good. So, you have nothing to worry about. Nothing at all. You just have to enjoy the day as much as possible with the internal faculty you've got. And remember, some people don't have the luxury of looking at a very, very, very distant horizon, you know. Their clock is ticking fast and they don't even know how long they've got left. Well, nobody knows, but I'm just saying there are people out there like the guy in that headline who has all kinds of health problems and said, if I have to spend 6 months or 3 months or whatever in quarantine, I don't know how much of that, I don't know how much of the total amount of time that is going to be of my life. It could be half or more. There are people in these situations. And so I should be thankful, like my mother said, just thankful to be healthy. So, 20th of April, the time is probably 2:30, maybe 3. We're going to do some shopping today. And Flo may go and get the stuff. Although I was kind of half contemplating going for a long walk myself. I don't know. Oh, let's have a look at the checking on the crop of maize. These tiny little shoots. It's impossible to imagine that these things are going to be very tall. and that if it is what we think it is, then it's going to look like a rainforest here in a few months. Anyway, I've been watching a couple of Red Dead Redemption videos. There's a guy, Strange Man, ironically I think is the name of his channel, and he explains mysteries and things on Red Dead Redemption. Like, he was explaining about the Strange Man that represents the Grim Reaper or death. He was explaining about maps and things, and I don't know, it's one of these guys that when he puts stuff up, you're inspired to kind of get into the game yourself. Wow, look at this. You could almost get across here. But I'm just looking at the riverbed. If you jumped in there, you'd be well up to your knees in muck. Where's Tuco? Tuco! Ah, there you are. Hello, Tuco. Hello. What's up with you? Hello, good boy. Let's go down this way. There's hardly anybody on the river today. Not in this weather. It's kind of drizzling a bit. But Flo is right, it's not cold. Because it's quite still, no wind. Allez, Tuco. This is probably going to be a bit muckier than normal, is it? No. No, it's not. It's fine. Last night I put a bit of time again into Transport Fever, and I was happy to get hooked up again. It's proven to be a kind of unique game. Sometimes it works and you get absorbed into something, and then other times it doesn't and you just quit whatever town you're building or map you're playing. But for the last 2 days, I think, I just had this idea of, I may have said this already yesterday, I don't know. I just had this idea of, there was one of those red rock plants beside a town, and so I started to develop that. The first thing I did was put a rail line in to deliver the stuff to the town. And then I just decided all I'm going to do is work on this one industry. That's pretty much going to be everything I'm going to try and do. I'm not linking towns, I'm not doing passenger stations, I'm just going to put all my effort into this one industry. And I'm going to try and deliver things to the other two towns, which are up at the very, very north of the map. I'm going to put a rail all the way along from the south to the north, and I'm going to deliver to the other two towns. And that's what I did, and I managed to get it working. I managed to get quite profitable even before the turn of the century. I was up to 50 million in around 1900, so it worked really well. And so I was able to just get the two other industries that these two towns needed, just two towns, and I was able to, they needed tools. So I got some trucks kind of delivering the tools. And then I was able to move on to really what I wanted to do as well, which was airports. Good boy, Tuco, have a drink. I thought, this is a perfect situation to build an airport. Two towns as far away as can be. So I put in a small airport, because I'm still in 1940 at this point. There wasn't any large airplanes. So I've got this small airport in one town, and then I put another airport in the far northern town. And of course, as soon as I open it, I link up the bus depot right to the reception area in the airport, and immediately I had 200 people waiting on the platform to take a flight. It was hugely successful. I couldn't get enough airplanes flying. And so when the opportunity came, I just waited, and I thought, I've got to just change this small airport into the large airport, and then I can start flying these big Boeing airplanes that take, like, you know, what you want to take is 50 or 100 people at a time. And then instead of having 12 airplanes that take 5 people at a time, you could just have 2 or 3 airplanes. And that plan has all worked out very well. Tuco, what are you running off for? Wait. We're heading toward the pylon, and wow, all the ground here is just really soft. Really soft. Heading toward the pylon. That's such a quick walk when I'm talking to myself like this. I've been walking for 15 minutes. It's very quick. And so it kept me occupied. I put in the big airport. I managed to get some big planes. And it was fun because I had to really, again, it's a bit risky, the investment process here, because these things cost a fortune. I spent 50 million in one go, just between the airports and the planes. And then I upgraded some of the trains, so I went from having 100 million all the way down to about 2 million. I just spent everything on investments. But as I expected, these things quickly paid themselves off, because every time you fly one of these planes, you're getting about 1 million. And if you've got huge demand for that, then you're not going to have many empty planes. And I was quite happy to have 3 different trains running on the track, delivering the red bricks. Although I did at one point put in an extra 2 trains to try and start a new industry line, but I just seemed to cause trouble. There's just too many trains. Allez, Tuco! Allez! Tuco! Tuco! Allez! There was too many trains, and I just started getting trouble with trains stopping all over the place, because I find the signalling a bit complicated. So I got rid of that second industry and thought, no, I'm just going to hang on to the building material industry, because it's working so well. I don't want to mess it up. So anyway, that really kept me occupied. Oh, the muck. Fuck. That kept me occupied for most of the evening. From there, goodbye. Allez. Allez. I'm not sure where else I can go now. Last night I was hoping that something would come to me to give me some more ideas for doing something else. I can connect more places via air. That would be something, I guess, to try. I have the money. I could put another airport in, and then I can just wait. That was the idea I had. I wanted to keep sending to maybe another town as much products as possible. Get these towns to grow as much as possible, and then the airport will grow, and you'll be able to take as many people as you want. Really, you'll be able to transport them. So I may just keep going like that. I think I'm up to 1970, and I may just let the simulation run and see what happens if you just keep doing this and you don't bother putting any passenger railing, you don't bother connecting anything by road. You try and do the whole job from maybe eventually to every town. I think there's 7 altogether, 6 or 7. Connect them all by air. Would that get you? Could that possibly get you big towns where you don't have too many traffic problems, because there really isn't much need for everybody to be driving around, because you can't get everywhere, or there is plenty of small roads that are connected. So I'm sure there'll still be that problem anyway. But today I may get back to Red Dead Redemption. I may hook up the whole system, and I'm kind of maybe a third of the way through a game. I don't want to start again or anything, and I got bored with this second playthrough. I remember I'm in St. Denis. I remember this is where I stopped, and there's a lot of these kind of missions and side missions, and some of them you have to do and some of them you don't, and I found them all boring. I found running through the streets of St. Denis trying to catch this person or find that person. I know most people find all these missions in Red Dead Redemption extremely easy. I don't find them all that easy. I find some of them difficult, and I find some of them a bit of a chore when you've got to get on your horse and then you've got to ride to the top of the fucking mountain to find some Indian, and then he's going to ride all the way back down again. But I wouldn't mind. I wish you were able to do this with Arthur. Well, that's something I could try, I guess. I did take, when I took that woman, and I was, suppose I freed her from some guy, and then I tied her up and put him on the horse, and I was able to go all the way into the new map, and I was able to visit John Marston's house, which hadn't been built yet. Not the house, but the site. And I let the woman go, and that's when I got shot. But I kind of always wondered if I hung on to the woman, would that have changed something in the program? Would I have been able to have gone wherever I wanted? I'd like to try that out again. I'm sure it probably doesn't work. And if not, then it would be maybe nice to get back to John Marston at the very end of all this and just be able to ride around all these places again. Again, I don't know if this will be anticlimactic, because there's not a lot going on in any of these places. I don't think you can do very much in Armadillo and a Tumbleweed, I don't know. But maybe it'd be worth doing it just to see the scenery again. But it's a bit of a slog, because there's an awful lot to get through. I didn't even, just thinking about it, I didn't even finish the game first time round. I just never bothered with that last mission that John Marston had to do to get the bad guy. I can't remember his name. The guy that reminds me of DeForest Keller. Because I saw the mission itself, and I just thought, I can't be bothered doing all that. I don't want to go. I'm just going to be, because I'm going to die lots of times trying to do that, and it just seems. Yeah, I think so. I don't think I did. I can't remember doing it. I think I just stopped short and went back and started to play the game again. I'll see. I have a compulsion to try it again, but I'm kind of thinking as well that, that might seem like a good idea, but once you've sat down and played it for about an hour, you'll probably have had enough of it. Let's see. What else is there? We're heading back. it's funny the way things can fluctuate in terms of the thinking, and I know it's good sometimes not to think of some things, but you know, yesterday or the day before I could be thinking, well, it's really cool that it's like a holiday. I get to rest down in the mornings, get to stay up, play games, but there's also something slightly there's something that can be a little bit scary or claustrophobic about thinking this is your life. This is really all it's in it, you know. And in this situation, I often think to myself, if you were retired, would it be like this? If we were retired, would I be just like, you know, someone says, what do you do? I say, I get up, I go for a walk, I cook the dinner, I play games, I sleep, I get up, I go for a walk, I cook the dinner, I go online, I go to bed, I get up, I go. And then sometimes the evening comes and you think, and I know the time goes so quick, I keep saying there isn't really any time to be bored, but the evening comes and you think, suppose nothing works with transport fever tonight, suppose it just doesn't click, you know. I find it just loses its magic again, you know. And suppose I start to play Red Dead Redemption, but after 10 minutes I'm like, fuck, this is going nowhere. This is exactly why I remember why I stopped. This is the thing. It's just like, it seems more interesting. It's one of those games, Red Dead Redemption. It's more interesting watching other people play it. This is what I should do. I should start watching the missions, actually. But and it is sometimes these things are much more entertaining to watch than to play. And then there are other games like Transport Fever, it's far more interesting to play than to watch. But that's a thought. If I can't think of stuff to do, I could just start watching people going through the missions. That might inspire me to get more into it. But what I was saying is a slight desperation can come along when you think, suppose I can't find anything to interest me. And then you can think, well, it's possible, but that in itself is just a transitory thing as well, you know. There's nothing wrong with spending one or two nights bored and not thinking of anything to do, because it always comes around again. You'll always be, you know, something will always come along that will grab your attention. But this kind of lockdown just it does make you think that, you know, this is probably the way it will be when I'm 70, let's say. It'll be maybe walking the dog in the afternoon, and then going home and doing stuff and contemplating what it's like to be 70. Thinking so far so good. And it's going to be a very difficult, for me, I think, concept to grapple with, because I am a meditative, contemplative person. I am going to think about the passing of time. I am going to think about the fact that in 10 years' time I'll be 80 or whatever, and in 10 years' time I'll be 90. And this, of course, I'm aware, could be all totally irrelevant, because if the now is anything to go by, one thing you should be aware of is that you can die anytime. Oh, you're not going through there too, are you? The grass is ringing. Are you kidding? You can't go through there, you get drowned. Let's go to the road and the path. Yeah. What can you do? Allez, Tuco. Tuco. Allez, cross the road. Don't be daydreaming when you cross the road. Concentrate. I believe you've got to cancel certain thoughts and certain lines of thinking. They don't do you any good. Contemplating mortality is one such thing. There's no point to it. You know, where you go afterward, there's no point to that either. Allez, Tuco. Check the mail. It's Monday. How did I get my adapter? Yeah, you gotta. Sometimes you just need to try and get by the next day best you can, you know. Do what you have to do. Sometimes, you know, the time may be in such a way that you just have to get by the next afternoon, and maybe there'll be days when you just have to get by the next hour. Yeah. Ah, there's Rita. Hello, Rita. Anyway, that's all for now. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to keep an eye on the battery here, but I'm down to 2 bars. Adios.